Hello and welcome to We Care Conversations, a fun mental health and wellness and behavioral health podcast brought to you by the Mental Health and Recovery Services Board of Allen,
Auglaize, and Hardin counties.
Yeah, we get better every time.
Absolutely.
I'm one of your hosts, Cody Ridenauer, and I am co-owner of Moto Media. We do all the PR and marketing and advertising for the Mental Health Board to get the word out there in the community.
And I am Elisa Bradley. I'm a licensed therapist, and it's my space as a co-host to bring great information to the community, but I also work in private practice, and I do some community sharing as well.
Nice. You want to kick off who we're talking to? Who are our guests today? I'm excited.
Yes. Thank you for that. So today, and just excuse me while I nerd out because it is a big deal. So today our guests are from the SOAR study, which stands for the State of Ohio Adversity and Resiliency Study. And if you've been watching the news lately, you have seen that something special has come to our area. And my today's guests are administrators and investigators along with that SOAR study. So it's just a wonderful opportunity to bring folks in. So I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, and then we're going to get right into our conversation. So Dr. Scott, we're going to start with you.
Yeah. Hi. My name is Scott Langenecker. I'm a licensed psychologist. I also study depression across the lifespan, and we are so grateful to be able to bring this opportunity to share with you all, and then also to really sort of empower the folks of Western and Northwestern Ohio to really think differently about what mental health can be in the future.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bridget. I am. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I am I'm the outreach coordinator for SOAR. Grateful to be here. My role with SOAR is to help to be a catalyst for things like this, right? Engagement with community, being presenting not just my face, but the face of SOAR within community, making connections like this. Definitely promoting Dr. Langenecker's work and the work of SOAR, and ultimately destigmatizing access to mental health care.
That's it. And we've talked about destigmatization for some time. So to have y'all here in the studio is just a wonderful thing, because we get to talk about the research and the science and the study of mental wellness. And so it's just great and welcome. And just forgive me if I geek out, because it is a big deal.
I got to keep you contained over here.
I know, right? I'm just going to calm it down a little bit. So Dr. Scott, can you explain to our listeners what SOAR is and how did it get here?
Yeah. SOAR is a humble admission that although people have been putting forth their best efforts for a long time to address and treat some of the mental health and addiction challenges that we have, we got a lot more to do. And I think what has changed that led to SOAR is that people are talking about mental health and addictions in spaces and with people that has not occurred at this time before, or at the extent to which it is now. So SOAR is a reimagining of what mental health wellness can be in our future. And in order to do that, we have to geek out.
I know. Yeah.
And we have to use the state of science tools that we have to understand people, the whole person, within their family, within their community, within their workplace, within their state. And then also we have to use our tools at the level of brain, at the level of behavior, to really sort of dig deep and learn new things. And that's what we're here to do. We're hoping to partner with folks and to be good partners, good listeners, and then of course good champions.
Thank you for that.
So you mentioned partner with people. What kind of people? Yeah.
Well, that's what makes SOAR so amazing, is most of the time when you do a research study, you say, well, I'd like this person who's between 18 and 35, who's experienced depression, to be involved in our study. Or I'd like somebody who's experienced adversity as a child to be a part of our study. SOAR is for everyone, literally everyone in the state. So if you feel like you're super resilient, great. Come share with us. If you feel like you've experienced adversity and things are still tough for you, great. Come and share with us. If you feel somewhere in between, that's great too. And we hope that you bring your family and your friends on down too, because it's really about how people, the whole person fits within the context of their life, the intersections of the people that they work with, people that they live with, and people that they get care with.
That's awesome. Can you take us a step back to how SOAR was born? I know that Governor DeWine, back in, I think it was 23, partnered with the Ohio State University, I'll get it right, and just said that we want to engage in a way that's never been done before. Can you talk about how we've been around the state and how we ended up in Northwest Ohio?
Yeah, now I'm going to geek out a little bit. So I've been waiting about 20 years for this opportunity. I never thought it would come. We in research settings often work in silos, right? So I study the brain. Bridget works with people in communities. You work with people in therapy. And a lot of times the knowledge and expertise doesn't cross over. And so when we think about the whole person in a whole family, we miss so many things, and how people become sick, how people become well again, to the best of their ability. So in the midst of the COVID epidemic, Governor DeWine was probably looking at some of the statistics about COVID deaths. And I always say, like, some very, very clever staff person probably said, well, have you seen the updated stats on suicides and overdoses? And I think that put in context that we lost a lot of people to COVID, but we're losing lots of people every day to suicide and overdose. And most of those deaths are truly preventable. And so what the governor has done in his talks with Dr. Fahn, who is our boss and the PI of the study, is said, well, what is missing? What is missing in this matrix? And the first thing that's missing is the humility, right? Realizing that we're talking about complex problems that are not easily solvable. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try, and that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to improve. And so in a series of conversations that Dr. Fahn and Governor DeWine had together, they really sort of thought, well, what could be a game changer and how we think about mental health and addiction? And that set of conversations is what led to SOAR, which is a statewide coalition of universities, researchers, clinicians, community advocates, and people, whole people, real people, citizens of Ohio, who are sick and tired of the struggle that we've had in the mental health and addiction space and want something better. So not only is it addressing the challenges that we have, it's really sort of thinking, how can Ohio lead in how we imagine wellness and resilience now and in the future?
That's really one of the things that I'm so proud of, is that we are leading, and we're not just hoping that change will happen or change will come. We are inviting folks to be looked at and to share their stories and to share their information. So that's kind of why I geek out, because it gives us as just regular old community folks the opportunity to be a part of something that's long lasting and hopefully will be an instrument for change.
Absolutely.
I think that's one of the things I geek out about in community outreach is giving sounds a little privileged, right? But it is making space for the local leaders to lead this initiative in their spaces. We are your guests. You know, we have been given space to be here. We've been getting guidance and I think quite a bit of that relational foundation to be a little splash of accepted here, you know, but just open that door. We are working on it. So grateful for folks like you that are geeking out with us and then help to open that door.
You know, this podcast goes to a lot of different kinds of people. What does the study kind of look like? Like, what are the logistics of this? So what are you expecting people to do? What's required of them? How can they get involved? Like, kind of what's to the normal person like me? Yeah. What happens?
What does it look like? Yeah, what does it look like when you wake up in the morning and say, I've got a SOAR event today. What do I need to wear? How do I prepare? What's the right mindset to be in? So there's two actual studies that are a part of SOAR. Many people have already heard of SOAR by getting a little postcard in the mail that offered them an opportunity to be a part of the Wellness Discovery Survey. We had 15,312 responses from all 88 counties for that survey. And that asks questions about, who are you? Where are you from? What's your family look like? Who do you live with? Where do you work? What are some of the things that you do to maintain or build your own wellness? What are some challenges that you've experienced, adversities that you might have seen? What are some of the skills that you have learned along the way to wellness and resilience? And then, of course, what are the mental health challenges that you might have? And what we've learned so far is that there's a lot of people in Ohio who are struggling right now. About half of the people in Ohio who responded to our survey reported moderate or high levels of distress. 39% reported loneliness at a significant level. So that's the first part of the study, is just tell us your story, and we're going to listen, we're going to learn, we're going to try and figure out what are some of the clues that people have already figured out in terms of getting to more wellness or to resilience, however they may define it, not how we define it. The second study is a little bit more hands-on, and it is about 7 or 8 different activities, some of which are done in person and some of which can be done virtually, and they don't all have to be done at the same time. So one is what's called a magnetic resonance imaging scan, where you lay on your back and go into a metal tube, and while you're in there, we measure changes in blood flow in your brain while you're thinking about challenging experiences that you've had, and also while you're thinking about connected and positive experiences that you've had. And we're trying to understand how some people recovery is a little bit easier than it is for other people. And then what we can learn from that to obviously help the folks who maybe recovery is a little bit harder. We also do something called EEG. We put a whole bunch of gel and electrodes on people's heads, and then they do tests of challenge and reward and threat. And again, we're looking at individual differences and how people respond to these situations to get clues. And some people seem to recover a little bit better than others from challenges. And what can we learn about how their brain is doing that so we can teach it, we can stimulate it. And then, of course, we ask people about their experiences. So the same things that came out in the survey are also asked in this study. We do cognitive tests of attention and memory and flexibility. Again, just looking for strengths that people might have, maybe weaknesses people might have that lead toward or away a wellness and mental health challenges. And the goal is it's not a pass-fail sort of thing. It's what is your life like for you, and how do we learn from that? We also have people fill out some surveys on their phones, a couple times a day for about a month, again, to get that sense of what's the experience like for them as a whole person in their environment as they walk through their lives. We have them talk with a licensed therapist to do a diagnostic interview to really sort of get a sense of what are the challenges that they're experiencing. And then I think, blood tests. For some people are a little squeamish about blood tests, but we also collect blood to look at.
But wait, there's more.
So people are like, oh, you're looking at genetics. Sure, we're going to look at genetics, but genetics is only a little piece of the puzzle. A lot of it might be how you respond to stress, which people refer to inflammation. So some people have a real strong response to stress, and their immune system goes to town like, I got to protect this person. And some people have a diminished response to immune challenge, and maybe that puts them either at more risk or at less risk for returning to wellness. And then a final thing is people get a survey, and the survey asks them in their own words, what was this experience like for you? And that is where we get what I refer to as the gems, right? Because people are saying things like, I can't believe we're at a moment where the governor and the legislature is taking this seriously, and they're investing money, not just in putting a Band-Aid on a problem now, but like, how can we be better? How can we be better as a state? How can we lead as a state? And it makes me proud to say that out loud.
For sure. How long, two questions about how long it is. How long is this study? And then if I am willing to participate, which I am, how long does it take me to participate?
Yeah. So the in-person part is about 3.5 hours. That can be done in one day. It can be done in several days. We're over at Mercy Health on Market Street for another couple weeks, and then we'll probably come back at the end of July for a few more people to join us. Those pieces, obviously, doing in person, the blood draw, the MRI, and the EEG. All the other pieces can be done remotely, and those are about another 3 hours spread out over a bit of time. So it's like, 6.5 hours, that seems like a lot. But we do whatever we can to make it fit into your schedule, because we don't want people to say, I can't fit it in, because those are the people we need to hear from. Yeah. The people who are struggling and it's like, I can't, I got to make ends meet. Well, we need to hear your story. Yeah. We need to hear your story. And so the other part of it, you asked, how long will this go? This will go as long as the will to support it goes. And that is not just, hey, the governor and the legislature want to do this because it's important. It's also because the people of the community say, wow, you're listening. This is really important to us too. And then that circle comes back to the other stakeholders, talking to your leaders, talking to the legislatures from your community and saying, this is really important to us. I can't believe this opportunity. Let's sustain it. The model that this was built off of is the famous Framingham Heart Study. So now we know a lot about heart disease, cholesterol, blood pressure, other aspects of family health that led people in the 40s to die at a really high rate in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 60s from heart disease. Now, people are living into their 80s. We have people getting surgery, bypass, medications that prevent cholesterol buildup. All of this came from the long-term study in the Framingham Heart Study. And that is where I say the pot of gold is in the study is, what do we learn about how people from challenged backgrounds move to wellness? And then how can that information be conveyed to other people from challenged backgrounds in the moments where they need that information to actually make good choices for them? And we take a multi-generational approach. And we, of course, I mentioned before, we take a whole person, whole community, whole family approach. So it's a big investment. It's a big, bold vision, but we hope it goes at least a decade and possibly longer. So we plan to come back every 2 years to bring that trailer back here, to come back to Mercy, and maybe come to other places in Western Ohio. Like, we're only constrained right now by our imagination and by our budget, mostly by our budget. But we lean into that.
So this is to just gather all this data and get a baseline in order to form a plan to make things better.
If you think about it in terms of 3 phases, so the first phase is the state of Ohio right now. What's going on? How are people right now in this moment achieving what they define by themselves, for themselves, as wellness and resilience? Really important information to learn in that context. Then there is the short term, which is in 3 to 4 years. As we get some longitudinal data, we'll be able to use the information we've collected to do a little crystal ball, right? We do it backwards, though. So we look at people who have gotten better over those 3 or 4 years, and we say, well, what'd they do? What'd they do? What's the brain look like? What are some of the things that we measure that actually give us a clue that these people are on a path towards wellness? And how do we do more of that? Right? And then obviously we want to look at the other way too. Who are the folks that are moving from wellness to struggling, or from struggling to struggling more, or even, passing away? That longitudinal information gives us critical information, how to intervene quickly and how to make a difference now. So that's sort of the second stage, is the short term. The long term really speaks to if I'm, I'm just going to use an example of one of the participants that we've recruited so far. If I'm a grandmother and I'm raising my grandson because my daughter is incarcerated for an opiate addiction, what does that look like for my grandson? What is the pathway to wellness for my grandson? And how can I be a protagonist in the story for both my grandson and for my daughter? And how can my daughter actually recover to a place of wellness and resilience? And that's not a 4-year answer, right? That's a little more challenging.
You've shared some great information. I feel like our conversation is being informative. But if I'm that community member who didn't quite understand all of what you've said so far, Dr. Scott, how do we still invite them into the show, right? You said a lot of great things. I heard you speaking about MRIs and EEGs. If I am terrified about that, or if I don't want to engage in that part of it, how can I still participate if I don't completely understand all of what you've just said?
This is the part I really like about SOAR. So we have a smorgasbord of different things that we're trying to collect on folks, because we don't actually know. Like it's like going to a diner and there's like 12 things on the menu, and we're saying to you, we'd like you to eat them all. And you're like, wait, I've never had any of this stuff before. I don't even know what this is.
Stuff over there? No.
None of that. Yeah. So you can say, I want to do these 8 and not those 4. That's fine. Or you can check it out. So you can hop onto the table for the MRI. We'll slide you in, and if you're like, this is not for me, that's cool. You can just say, I'll be a part of SOAR, but I don't want to do that part. Or if you don't like needles.
That's for you. He looked right at me.
Cody, I'm sorry.
Including you. Cody, you're invited.
I would do it.
I saw him flinch a little bit when I mentioned it before.
Cody, you're invited.
We'll breathe with you, Cody. It'll be okay.
But it's also possible that you want to just come and look and check us out. And that is totally cool too. Like, we take walk-ins, we'll consent, describe the study on the spot. The team that we work with, the model that we use is what we refer to as the concierge service. Like, you ever gone to a restaurant and they pick up your car at the door? We don't pick up your car at the door, but we want you to feel like you're welcome. And if you've got questions, we're going to try and answer them all. So if it doesn't make sense, that's your invitation to ask a question and say, what is this doing really? And most of the time the answer is, actually, we don't know. That's part of the reason why we're doing it, because this is a state-of-the-art scientific tool to understand how your brain responds to stress and to reward and to things that are both good for us and bad for us and indifferent. And in order to really sort of apply that to healthcare of the future, we have to come in with tools we don't really know what they do yet. We know they're safe. We know that they give us information about you as a person or your family or your community. But in terms of like, what does this do, Doc? The answer is, I don't know yet. That's why we're here.
It's the journey of discovery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you getting a nice, diverse group of people, like from all various situations so far?
Well, by traditional means, yes. So if you say to me, hey, do the characteristics of the people who are joining SOAR match the census? I will say, yeah, mostly. But there's a couple gaps, right? The biggest gap, and I'm saying this to the folks, single parents. Single parents have got a lot of stuff on their plate. Love to have more single parents because every day they're working through and trying to figure things out. And if they're not sharing their stories with us, we're going to be at 0 in trying to understand what resilience and wellness looks like for them. The other thing is, I'll admit it, The boys have a hard time talking about this stuff. So we need more men. We need more boys. And that takes some courage, takes some trust. And I can't offer that, but I can say we've got friendly people,
So we talked about earlier in the week, we had an in-depth conversation that I felt was very valuable. We spoke about why some of our folks from communities of color and marginalized and underrepresented groups maybe are not participating. What did you take from that conversation, and how do we spread the word? Again, my question to you all is what do we do to get those folks who don't completely understand and who do understand, but also just don't trust the medical models?
Well, the first answer I'm going to give you is the real one. If you don't trust us, don't show up. I don't want to offer something that I can't follow through on.
Okay.
That's just the honest answer. But also, like we talked about, if you can offer just a little bit of hope, that those of us who are invested in this process have really invested a lot of time and energy and thought into following a good path, that will be one of integrity and honesty and truth in this process. If you can offer us a little bit of hope and a little bit of trust, just to come and check us out,
make your own informed decision.
Make your own informed decision. I know enough to know that I shouldn't be making big promises, because we learn from that, right?
Yes.
And I've learned enough to know that, if the governor and the legislature decide to do something different tomorrow, SOAR may have to morph and become something a little bit less bold and a little bit less big. And so I don't want to overhype, over geek, or over promise.
Mm-hmm. But I'm excited that it seems like you're swinging for the fence with this study, and that we're inviting everyone, and that you're opening the doors and really making it transparent in the language and how we're doing what we're doing. So I am very thankful for that. And I am encouraging all of our communities to please come and do what you said. Learn about it. Check us out. I was also, after our conversation, I was on SOAR's website, and there is a wealth of information there. So obviously we know that this isn't all of the information that's available in this podcast setting. But please, I would also encourage folks to check out the website and to know and to learn. And then we're going to invite Bridget back into the conversation and say, how do you, yes, please come on back. How do people get in touch with you, and what's your role? How are you doing outreach?
Oh my goodness, that's quite the question.
And you can break it up.
Yes. I think I'll start with maybe, how do I do outreach? I've been doing outreach for a long time. I had a corporate role where I did high volume recruiting, several places throughout the state, and then had a baby, which changes things, right? So I eventually ended up at OSU's Trauma Recovery Center doing outreach. So I think what I learned there is humility. That's, I think, humility and authenticity. Like, I don't want to give you a roadmap that says, I do this email and then I do that and then I do that, because it's not like that. It's those authentic interactions like you and I have had. Yeah. Right? Where you spot that serendipitous moment, where you feel, to be geeky, nerdy, woo-woo, that like you feel that vibe, right? You feel that connection with someone. So that's always been, I try to make that the foundation of where my outreach work starts. And then I have to come back. Right? You all can think I'm as charming as possible. First meeting, sure. 5 minutes, you're going to think I'm great. Or you're not. So then I come back. And then I come back. And I should say we. Then we come back, and we come back, and we come back. And I think that's what drew me to SOAR from doing trauma work, is that opportunity to continue to come back, work in partnership with a community to build a foundation of hope and trust. So I don't know if I answered all your questions, but that's I have to start from humility, and I have to take my time and respect the community that I'm entering into.
Thank you for speaking about respect of community, because oftentimes many of our pockets of our community don't feel respected in some of these types of models and situations. So thank you for speaking about humility and respect and the ability that maybe we don't have all the answers, but we're trying to do something that's going to yield us the best results. So thank you for speaking about that. We haven't mentioned what folks get for participating in this study. Would you like to speak about that? Yeah, I know, right? I told you there's more, man. There's more. Your camera is right there.
There's compensation. See, it comes out. I just had Lisa and I breathe together. There's compensation attached to this. We've talked amongst ourselves. We've talked with other folks about not being part of the extraction economy. So we're aware that this takes time, and folks' time is valuable, and we're not just asking for your time. We're asking for some vulnerable time. We're putting you in a tube. We're sticking stuff to your head, and then we're going to ask you some questions that might be uncomfortable. So there's financial compensation. We're going to pay folks for their participation. And each piece that Scott mentioned has its own compensation to it. So if you want to do the MRI, but you don't want to do the blood draw, that's cool. You don't have to.
What's my blood worth?
Right? But we're going to pay you for that time that you spent in that tube. So folks can receive up to $325 for participation in the study. And we are hoping to enroll families. And we want to enroll individuals. We're going to learn from everybody. But we want to enroll families. And so if you have a family of 3, age 12 and up, I know you said everybody, but it's actually age 12 and up. You put 3 people in your car. You got your auntie, your sister, and yourself. That's how much money. You might be able to buy some groceries that would last you for a period of time, right? Or you might be able to pay your electric bill that month. We want to be real about how far this money actually goes. But that is something that we are doing, is recognizing that this is time and folks' time has value. So $325.
Okay. What else do you get? So if I share my information, if I participate in the study, yes, compensation is great. But do I get to know what was the results of my MRI? What were the results of my EEG? What was the results of my blood work? What did you see when I gave you my blood?
I'm going to let the doctor respond to that question.
Yeah, so there are sort of 3 buckets of answers to your question. So the first bucket is we look at your brain. We have a radiologist look at your brain, and if there's...
Let's just take a pause there. Everybody looking at my brain? Okay.
We're all looking at you.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that would benefit from clinical follow-up, we call you. And we say, hey, we'd like you to follow up with a radiologist. And so far, we have scanned, I think, about 1,500 people, and over 50 people have gotten that phone call. Now, don't panic. Yeah. Most of the time, it's a benign thing, often a cyst. But there are actually a couple instances where that participation, that phone call probably saved somebody's life.
Yeah.
So that's the first bucket.
That's really what I wanted to get out there. Was it? Yeah. Say some more.
The second bucket is when you do the study, when you are involved in the study, we know that when we walk away, you're going to go back to your life, and your life might actually have challenges in it still. And so we provide resources for people who might need addiction support services or mental health services that are specific to your area. So for every county, we have our little list of people that we know that might be of help for you. And that's actually bi-directional. So if you come in and you say, well, actually, this person's been super helpful to me, and they're not on our list, we add that person to our list. So it's a growing library. That's sort of the second bucket, is mental health and resilience are actively being encouraged by being a part of the study. The third bucket, which is still a little, I guess you'd say a twinkle in my eye maybe, is we are hoping that people will write to us. I mentioned before at the end we asked questions like, what was the experience like for you? We actually want is such a strange word. We are hopeful that people will share their stories, and we can learn things from the stories that we can't get from the MRI, we can't get from the EEG, and we can't get from the blood, but we can then bring it back and sort of say, oh, this is what a story of resilience looks like. This is what a story of hardship looks like. And now we have these really cool whiz-bang tools that you can use, something called natural language processing. We put all the stories into a big bucket, and literally the computer, I know people are a little bit afraid of AI, but the computer looks at themes that come out of these stories that we can then come back when we come back in a year and a half and say, we didn't have this question, and this is a theme we want to tap into. And I know we haven't talked a lot about this yet, but we know already in every community in Ohio, people are finding pathways to wellness and resilience right now. So our goal is to learn from those stories and then tie them into these whiz-bang cool tools that we have so that they connect, right? So that my personal journey, my personal story fits into a pathway for resilience. And then that might be the same pathway for other people who have not had those opportunities or that little bit of luck or that little bit of gumption, whatever it might be to get to their pathway to wellness. So that's to me, the third bucket is where the magic happens.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think I just have one more topic that I is on my mind. I love your shirt. You know, it's okay to not be okay.
It says it's okay to not be okay.
So,
Which we've said multiple times in our spaces, which is absolutely. Yep.
That's our thing, our mantra. Is that the right word? I don't know.
so stigma is obviously a huge thing. It's getting better every day, I think. And I really liked how you kind of compared this to the heart study, because there does not seem to be a stigma to taking your blood pressure medication.
Right.
Or my dad's had a number of heart attacks, and if he has another one, they're going to fix him up again. And no one's like, well, it's his fault because he keeps going down this path of, so do you hope that I know you have like these pathways you're hoping to find. Is it kind of a similar thing where, with the heart, we know cholesterol, blood pressure. Are you hoping to find sort of you have this kind of thing going on in your brain? So maybe if we combine maybe this med and this type of therapy and this to actually kind of put people on a path like that?
Yes, and the and is where
That's the tricky part.
yes, and the and is where I get super excited. So half of the people that we lose to suicide have never walked through the door of a mental health professional. Half. So we're losing the game before we even get a chance to play. And when you talk about stigma, that's the ball game right there. Like, you've lost the game and you haven't even thrown the first pitch. And so part of this anti-stigma campaign, which is much bigger, much broader than SOAR, is the simple idea that I don't feel good right now, but there's options for me. And if I'm a 17-year-old that I hit a wall and I'm like, I got no choices, maybe there's a little bit of a kernel of hope that comes out of what we learn, that actually other people who have been in my situation, there have been possibilities. So that's a big part of it. And then also when we talk about overdose, it's the same sort of story. There's a lot of people who become addicted to some of these painkillers before they even had a chance to evaluate that might be a risk for them. So it could be, if you've experienced a lot of adversity and you're a certain age and you've got a certain type of pain, opiates aren't a great choice. And then you can tell the doc, hey, we got to be really careful with this. You're going to meet with me more often, or we're going to try something else. Plus, once we identify those people who are a little bit more vulnerable to addiction and overdose, then we can think about what are the new therapies we need to manage pain for those folks. But we can't do it if we're sort of just saying, oh, everybody who has pain, let's try something new, because there's a whole bunch of people for whom the painkillers actually work fine. Like, they work fine. They take them for 3 days. They take them for 5 days, and no big deal. And so we don't throw out the baby in the bathwater. We want to actually ask for you, Cody, when you come in, if you come in, what's the best treatment for you as a person, you know, and based upon your journey and your experiences and your brain and your blood work, how do we get there? And that's what Framingham has done. And that's what SOAR hopes to be a part of.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I would sort of tag on to something that has come up, is this sense of ownership. Like, who owns SOAR? What is SOAR for? Is it owned by Ohio State University? Is it owned by the governor's office? And I would put to all of you that part of what Bridget's mission is, and it's a big ask.
Big.
It's a big ask. But it's not that we come to the region and we do things and we share and we go away. It's that we come and we partner together, and that if we're successful, actually, we're actually, I hate to use this word, but I'm using this word because this is what's in my heart. We come here as servants to the community. So it's not the SOAR study is coming to Lima, it's that Lima is asking for what SOAR can offer and using that information to teach us, but also to think about how do the people of Allen County, Lima, Auglaize, and Hardin work toward more wellness and resilience for the folks who live here, who call it home. Like, we're guests, as Bridget said, and we want to be, servant guests in our capacity when we come.
Wonderful. So, to our, I want to ask for our community, if some of us want you to come and to share more information, Bridget, what are you open to? Who will you go and sit with? How do we get you out?
Anyone? If you ask me, I will come.
Okay.
Well, we talk about narratives, and I'm so lucky, so privileged to have folks share their stories. I'm not collecting data. Folks are telling me with their words what is going on. We talked on the way here. If you sit down and you pause and you look somebody in their face, they're going to tell you something. And so I will come and sit anywhere you would like me to come and sit. And so you can email me. We'll make sure you have information. We have a website. It's www.soarstudies.org. So we're a tiny team. You can reach me that way. You can email, and our research assistants will let me know. We'll figure it out.
So who have you had the opportunity, during your listening tour, that's what I've been calling it when I'm sharing out folks. Yeah. Who have you had the opportunity to sit with so far in our spaces? Just as an example for our listeners.
Can I say names?
How about in categories? So have you sat with churches? Have you sat with barbershops? Have you sat with...
I have a list, right? I have a list and I am checking off boxes. I spent a lot of time at the library.
Yes.
Right? It's one of my favorite places to be, to interact with community. I have had the pleasure of having coffee with a couple, a Lima couple, and had deep, meaningful conversation within a very short period of time. So mad respect for that. I got to meet you somewhere. I apologize. I don't remember how we first met. Oh, at the library. Yes. So we're here today on the podcast. After we leave here, we are going to go to a barber shop. Uh, um, Similar to the library, it's a community hub, right? So we will meet the owner, but we will also meet because we are going there. If you're a barber, if you don't have people in your chair, you're not making money. So we're going to go to his shop, and he has invited us to have some space. But we will then be present in that shop, and so vicariously we will meet the folks there. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, I only asked that to share with folks that it's for everybody. It's for anybody. I've got some folks that I've also kind of made some arrangements for you to have some time with, because I do want to just help to spread the seeds of how everybody can participate. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you.
How are you all interacting with our boards, our mental health and recovery services boards and or our Adams boards? And are they receptive to what you all are doing?
I'll let you start and then I'll tag on.
We're in a space of authenticity, right? Right. So there's a broad net that we cast. I spoke about serendipity. So yes, folks are receptive. But folks, justifiably so, are protective of their communities. So sometimes we benefit, we meet the right person at the right time, and we have a shepherd through community. Sometimes it doesn't work out quite that way. And we're all moving through a space where we want to make sure that our folks have the resources that they need. And we have ownership of that. And so just like going to have coffee with someone who's a community member, who's getting to know me for the first time, do you really trust me after an hour? Maybe. Scott's very charming. So I try to utilize him as often as possible. But sometimes it takes just as much time. Sometimes they don't want to play with us. And so that's part of that prevention piece, which is before going into a community, I need to do my homework a little bit and understand who I'm actually asking to help us with these things. So yes and no. But as many channels and opportunities and avenues that I can go through and go down to find those people, research is looking for answers, and research is looking for the next question that's going to lead to the next question that's going to lead to the next question. And I think outreach is the same way. Anybody wants to play in my sandbox is welcome. Anybody who invites me into their sandbox is welcome. But sometimes it does take that time. It does take that research. It really does have to be intentional to get the respect from those organizations to open that door for us.
And if I may add to that, I'm still a little bit red from that compliment, Bridget. There are many challenges in our communities, and many of the board members that we've talked to at the outset have said things much like, you do know we could just use some more resources. That would be great. And they're right. Like, we have a lot of things that are really effective right now, and we're under-resourced. And so coming into a community where we are the guest and the stranger, and laying out this bold vision also means that we have to acknowledge that there are some practical limitations to what can be done that they experience every day. And so there are people who look at us and say, well, you're not helping me today, and I need help today. And what you've got coming maybe 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, I don't have a lot of grace and time to offer to you in this moment because I've got real people that are struggling right now. So that's just being real and authentic about some of the responses we've gotten. And I honor that because that's true. We know it's true.
Yeah. I think it's also worth mentioning or talking about is that if I'm a person who is in need right now, do I have it in me to participate so that I can help maybe my daughter or my granddaughter or somebody else can benefit from what I'm experiencing. And so I appreciate that most folks who are in, whether it's recovery for addiction, they will come back and say, if I can help somebody not go through what I went through, then I'm willing to give some of my time. And I hope that's what people will adopt in their mindsets, that I do need help right now, but I also want to be able to help those coming behind me.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, even kind of in my own mental health journey, I find myself being more of that advocate, and how can I like help a little bit. It's sort of like that organ donor mentality. Kind of like, I think about like all I have to do is offer a few hours, and maybe it's 10 years down the road, but if there's someone that's similar to me, they'll have a path to feeling better. Like that, it's a pretty cool feeling, but not everybody has that. So,
well, that's what we want to help to share, is that this is something you can do to help future generations. It's kind of like when we talk about recycling, right? We're going to use less plastics and maybe try to figure out a way to help out the future. I think this kind of aligns with that. We're going to do a little bit of time now, a little bit share a little bit of ourselves now to help some in the future.
And I hope that our boards see, I know locally suicides are up the last couple years. I hope that they do see the long term.
Yeah.
You can't fix it overnight. So if this can help adjusting the path for the future, it's worth the effort.
Yeah. And if I could add one thing, which, comes out kind of as the third or the fourth thing, but for community members who are involved in mental health and addictions care, this is also an opportunity to shine a light on things that are going well. We can measure that, and we can report it back, not just to the governor and the legislature, but we can share it with other boards. One of the intriguing things about Ohio's board distribution is that sometimes the good news doesn't travel as fast as we'd like, and it doesn't sustain in its travel. So if there's good things happening and we can demonstrate how beneficial it is through SOAR, then that evidence, that information can convince other folks in different board regions, like, hey, let's try this too. And then I'll add to that, we do have, and we've been working with Ohio Moss on a model where people who are doing innovative new things, they're connecting us together, and we're talking about how can we measure it as part of SOAR, so we can actually see kind of a fast fail, fast win model. So even though I said 10 years down the road, there are actually some things we could learn today, tomorrow, next month, next year, that could then travel in a good way to help people really sort of marshal their resources and target the things that they do well.
So just in summary, we know that our community is benefiting from this SOAR thing. SOAR is State of Ohio Adversity and Resiliency Study. If it's here in Lima, like if I want to share with somebody out who's a part of another community, can they come here and participate too? If I have a family member that lives in a community that hasn't been serviced by SOAR, can they come into the community to participate? If I, call my nieces and nephews from other communities, they can come up and participate as well?
We would love that, actually. Yes, please.
And you mentioned before breaking stigma. How amazing is it to be able to come to a mental health visit with a family member and to have that sort of cleansing feeling of walking into a medical building, talking about mental health challenges, and actually having a pleasant day with a family member? Like that, to me, is almost like a healing moment in and of itself, like clarity. Anyway.
You're looking at me. When I started, that was my thing. Like, everybody is an altruist. Everybody wants this because it feels good. And then I've switched, and now you're stealing my thunder. It's talking about what.
Well, it's true. Families go to doctor's appointments together all the time. Why can't mental health appointments and something like this be the same? I mean,
People have said it's fun.
yeah.
That it can be fun to go to the hospital when you're not sick.
Yeah.
Right? It's a different experience for many of us. to go, I will come, we will breathe together.
Absolutely. Okay.
But it's there's so much to it, right? There's that altruism piece. There is connection to my family. There is connection to the community. There's trying something new and exciting, which seems to be good for our brains. So there's participating in this has so many pieces to it. It's kind of hard to speak to just one, but that's destigmatizing, accessing, and participating in mental health care is that central key point, I think, of what we all do.
Great. We'll give you the opportunity for any final thoughts as we wrap up. Anything that you'd like to mention? I know we've shared a lot of good stuff, but I do want to give you the opportunity if we didn't ask you about something that you want to say in our final thoughts, now's the time.
I would just share as a son of a person with a mental health challenge, as the father of a person with a mental health challenge, as a person with a mental health challenge. Just give us a little bit of hope. Come and check us out, and we'll do right by you as best we can. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Okay.
So to wrap things up, thank you again. Have to do our disclaimer here, though there are experts on the panel here today. This is a podcast for information. So if you need some help, we've got some resources for you. For general information about services in the community, whether it's mental health and recovery or just any other kind of community service, dial 988 and they'll hook you up with some information. Our website, wecarepeople.org, is chock full of information about all the initiatives, how to get a hold of agencies, and kind of anything you need to find. Also, there's a new service called the Notify text service. So you can sign up for community health alerts. You just text START to 888-701-2578. And they're real simple texts that you get on your phone, just letting you know what's going on in the community, from free trainings to some current events health-wise that are happening.
And you can pick and choose what you subscribe to. If you only want to know what's there for elderly folks or for your children, then you can choose that and you can opt out of other things, or you can click all of the boxes and get more information, which I'm glad about that, because you get to choose how informed you are. Oftentimes our communities have said, man, I didn't know anything about that. And now here's another way that you can add and grow your toolbox of information.
I'm signed up for all of them, which doesn't really make sense for me, but they're so simple that my phone buzzes and I read it and say, didn't know that. And then I put my phone down and move on with my day.
Or your phone buzzes and you instantly connect with that and you start sharing in your network that, hey, this is happening. You need to know about this. And so,
hey, this isn't for me, but I just forward that text on and say, you might like this.
Yeah, in this information age, it's a good thing.
Yeah, so you can read all about it at wecarepeople.org/notify. if you want to get that number again. As always, if you are in crisis, you can call the Hope line 24/7 at 1-800-567-HOPE, or you can walk into the We Care Crisis Center on South Main Street in Lima and get the help you need that way. And then obviously, if it's an extreme emergency, dial 911. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you.